It astonishes me that the same species capable of building quantum computers, nuclear fusion, artificial intelligence, sequencing the human genome, sending spacecraft to other planets, can at the same time be so anti-science, so short-sighted, and fall victim to baseless conspiracy theories. Younger generations are increasingly believing in conspiracies like Flat Earth, that the Apollo moon landings were faked. More adults are becoming anti-vax, falling for unhealthy fad diets like the carnivore diet, looking to horoscopes or tarot card readings for making life decisions. 26% of Americans still think that the sun revolves around the earth. The public still largely doesn't believe in human-caused climate change. Most don't care about it. The political environment is extremely polarized. Every party seems to be only butting heads with one another, not getting any actual progress done. We continue to elect leaders who deny science outright and actively propagate misinformation. Social media and tech companies are laxing laws on hate speech and AI, while influencers across social media so confidently push around baseless ideologies, and exposure to meaningful STEM content dwindles. Now, why is this happening? Well, first of all, children can move through the entire educational system and still not get proper science education, right? Children are tossed into the system like an assembly line and taught that science is merely just memorizing boring facts. Not enough time is allowed for students to really grasp how science works, how evolution works, how we know the earth is round, and how we know that we went to the moon, how vaccines work, right? Many kids leave school still not literate in science. Children are not taught that questioning is good, that being wrong is okay, and that there is a path to truth, one that is better than others, right? Instead, school is seen as just a means to a good paying job and nothing more. The only thing that matters in school is your grade letter, and being wrong or asking the wrong questions means something terrible, a terrible punishment, right? Critical thinking, recognizing your own fallibility, all that seems to be slipping away. And then when the children get home from school, they're further discouraged from asking questions. Religious bias on behalf of the parents often stops parents from allowing their kids to ask the hard questions. Or they themselves are not literate in science, so they don't know how to properly answer their child's questions, right? They would rather give the kid an iPad or tell them, here, go play Xbox, instead of teaching children how to think about those hard questions that bother us. So kids are not disciplined to recognize their own fallibility, and so they let their gut instincts guide them. They begin to follow what feels good. After all, we've only been told things about evolution all day long. We've never been shown how it works. It doesn't feel right. How do we come from monkeys? That doesn't feel right. So they must be lying. My gut instinct guides me, not the science. After all, who's there to challenge me? Nobody. And now young people have very easy avenues to, staying deeper in their bubbles. Social media algorithms are designed to only feed us information we want to see. Nowadays, anybody with a phone can become a social media influencer and spread misinformation and disinformation and get millions to agree. And then young people just reaffirm their beliefs by going into the comment sections of these videos, reading about all the people who agree with their position, and disregard the ones that have counterpoints, if they even exist. The algorithms reward extreme pseudoscientific ideas now. They get the most clicks. They keep you glued to the phone the longest. And we think this is okay. We've convinced ourselves that social media is no place for learning about the world. It's only for entertainment. And so the nightmare continues. We've caged ourselves in our little bubbles to the point where we've completely lost sight of, devalued, and utterly disregarded the scientific method, the foundation of modern society. So why is this important? Why do we care about this? Why should any of us care? Well, information, opinions, beliefs, debates, right? Talking points. They're now exchanged at faster rates than ever before. The rise of the internet and social media has transformed us permanently. It is now part of our daily lives that most of us are bombarded by information, talking points, arguments, debates every single day. Our entire lives are on social media now, right? And we're consistently consuming and creating information. And this will not stop. We're drowning in information. And influencers telling us all kinds of conflicting things, right? You could scroll on one person's video, they'll say that the planets are aligning and therefore it's the apocalypse, or it's a sign of Jesus coming. And you scroll, the next person says, oh, nothing to worry about, Jesus isn't real, right? People don't know what or who to believe anymore. Who do you believe? How do you solve this? Confusion is growing in a time where we need clarity the most. Clarity on issues is what will drive progress and solutions to these ever complicated issues that face us. The world is evolving fast, and we have to keep up. But we've become so unable to handle this influx of information that we've learned to just lazily throw away any new ideas that challenge our own. Yet, while all this is happening, science and technology still seem to be advancing. Quantum computers, humanoid robots, you see those often, self-driving cars, space telescopes, even cures to cancers via vaccines. But people still aren't fully grasping or appreciating these technologies. And worse, they're growing absurdly scared and suspicious of new technology. They don't understand it. It's becoming the case that the administering of high technology and power is filtering down to the wealthiest of people, where most people are becoming increasingly disconnected from it. And this is where a split society emerges, right? The divide between the public and the wealthy tech experts. This is where mistrust fosters. The root of the mistrust is improper exposure to science education in and out of school. We barely even hear real science in the mainstream media anymore, right? Now you hear every now and then about rockets or vaccines, but that's just surface level stuff. We don't really hear about real science in the media, any media. We're witnessing a society that takes the methods of science for granted while accepting its products. This growing disparity between the public and the scientific foundation of modern life is troubling. A polarized public takes shape. One side's agitated and too taken aback to tolerate the other side. The other side is just sequestering power and wealth, recklessly destroying anything that contradicts their own ideology. When we give immense power to people who are misguided and only seek to be rebellious against others, you get the situation we're in. Much of the rebellion is being done in the name of wokeism, a word which I still haven't figured out a proper definition for, what it even means. However, I suspect that what the right means by woke is anybody who disagrees with me must be wrong. The political right is exhibiting rebellious behaviors because they've convinced themselves that it's progressive thinking that's the root of all their problems, that it must be destroyed instead of understanding it. That reptilian voice in all of us, that primal need to dominate and control, still lingers. We have to be disciplined enough to not to succumb to it. But the public now is largely distrusting the experts due to their lack of scientific discipline. And it's making both sides increasingly agitated with one another. I mean, when was the last time we actually heard a meaningful, fruitful discussion between both sides? It's been a long time. And this is a problem that's been bubbling for many years. We saw this first with the political right. They've exemplified this anti-science shift, right? Across the board, from climate change denial, right? The problem's too obscure, it doesn't affect me right now. Then that leads to confirmation bias. See, it's still snowing outside. That means climate change is all fake. Remember, scientists lie. It's a symptom of a bigger, deeper problem. Or resistance to evolution, right? Show me a monkey turn to a human. I've never seen that. So let's go ahead and bring creationism in school. Let's have it have a fair shot. Let's teach our kids the 10 Commandments, and that'll get them back on track. Right? These are symptoms of a deeper problem. Trying to revive Christianity or religion in schools is a tragic attempt by religious parents and educators who feel the problem is the modern world and not their lack of understanding of it, right? So they feel that they have to shield their children from learning how to adapt to all the complexities of the modern social environment instead of boldly facing it and understanding it and tackling it with counterpoints in actual good information. Unhealthy skepticism towards vaccination and public health, right? Why are we seeing with the bird flu right now? We're seeing, previously eradicated diseases are making a comeback. COVID was merely a symptom of this underlying condition, right? People saw the mask mandates, the vaccines, the obscurity of the answers that scientists were giving, the uncertainty around the beginning of the COVID pandemic, right? This sparked that distrust in the science. Because they see the uncertainty, not understanding the scientific method. They see the uncertainty of the situation. They say, oh, well, the scientists don't know what they're talking about. Yet that's how science occurs in the beginning stages of a new discovery. Uncertainty. Science isn't a monolith delivering instant certainty or instant facts at every second. There are degrees of certainty. There are stages. There's a method that over time must be able to grow. So people were asked to do all these things, right? Stay 6 feet away, the masks, and they grew confused. Why are we taking these measures? Why are we doing this? I don't see a reason why. The public was confused. They were, because of their inherent science illiteracy. And then the vaccines came in, the introduction of new technology. People were afraid of mRNA, right? Again, the science wasn't 100% certain at that moment. So people began to even further mistrust the experts. The scientists don't know what they're saying. So what do? They resort to, let's just go with what feels good. They don't have any scientific compass. They have an emotional compass. Whatever sounds or feels good to them is the right thing. There are also economic implications to this, right? Economic policy. If you're a conservative and you believe in trickle-down economics, despite the overwhelming evidence it doesn't actually reduce inequality or cause growth to occur, you're going to elect leaders who think that's good, and that's going to cause economic implications for the rest of us. On the LGBTQ rights or gender issues, many people resist the scientific and medical consensus about gender dysphoria or transidentity, and they frame it as something cultural, like a cultural problem, rather than a scientific matter. Right? A lot of people just dismiss it by simply saying, oh, it's demonic or heretical, right? It's a sign of a devolving society, without any understanding of those issues, any scientific understanding or any scientific approach of those issues. And in our leadership, even AI and automation risks are being downplayed, right? And they're deregulating. Our leaders seem to be more focused on shifting towards deregulation and corporate interests. This is leading large swaths of the public to distrust and deliberately ignore the science, clinging on to strongly held intuitions about how the world should work in their eyes. Never mind the arguments or data from the other side. Never mind the widespread implications of my actions. I must be correct, they say. They feel as if having their beliefs challenged is too much of a risk to take. And this comes at the expense of decreasing the quality of life for society as a whole. Right? This resistance between both sides is taking a toll on all of us. And this could be the first time in a long time that the quality of our lives is actually declining with the advent of new high technology. Science literacy among the public is more critical than ever before because our quality of life is so deeply tied to our understanding of what's happening around us. And science is more than just knowing facts about things. It's a way of thinking that can affect every aspect of our lives. The very principles of science, questioning, falsifiability, the active minimization of bias, the benefits of this disciplining can spill over into other aspects of life, and our finances, health, social life, and more. It reminds us to think twice about important life decisions. So if someone tells you that they wanted this new diet and lost a lot of weight, a scientifically literate person isn't just going to jump into that. They're going to ask questions. They're going to ask you, how did you do it? How do you know it was the foods that you were consuming that were healthier, and not just that you were on a calorie deficit, or eliminating a certain food that was causing those weight issues? If someone tells you that they can read your tarot cards and see your future, as much as every ounce of our bodies wants to believe in that stuff, a scientifically literate person isn't just going to give that person their money and say, go ahead. They're going to ask questions and investigate that. Or maybe it means before you go ahead and vote for a politician in your next election, you remember to carefully fact check the candidates and their policies and not make an emotional, impulsive decision. Science literacy doesn't mean necessarily that you become a professional scientist. It's a simple tool that every person should be equipped with. As Carl Sagan refers to it, a baloney detection kit. It's constantly reminding us of our fallibility, that not every authority is lying or out to fool you. They may just be confidently wrong. That we don't have all the answers, and of the answers we do have, there are no sacred truths. It urges us to discard bad ideas, shows us that emotional attachment to outdated ideas isn't the best path to truth. We have to let go of bad ideas, and it's okay to do so, because you're after the truth no matter how uncomfortable or counterintuitive. It's a compass that guides us to follow evidence wherever it leads, to fact check, and to value truth, because the truth is much more empowering than a sugar-coated falsehood. And we're not afraid of the unknown, because we're not afraid of being wrong. Many people are simply afraid to learn new things because they might find out that they're wrong. That child mentality, that being wrong is too consequential, haunts us. Whereas the scientific illiterate thrive in the unknown. They're unafraid of being wrong or having their conceited hopes and expectations dismantled. And this is where a cosmic perspective emerges. Where yes, we are apes. Yes, life arose from primordial soup. Yes, we are molecules in motion. But look at what these molecules can do. They can yield consciousness, living beings, animals, plants. It's a journey into the unknown, where each discovery changes you, deepening your love for the universe. It inspires meaning and purpose and care for others, listening more, appreciating others, and not just dismissing them as demonic or heretical. And both political sides are guilty of demonizing the other, because that reptilian brain in all of us still exists, which tells us to dominate and control instead of listening and tolerating. And so, that can hijack the logical part of the brain. Understanding science strengthens the logical part of the brain and reduces those bursts of uncharitable insults that we throw out there when we talk with those who disagree with us. And unlike many people like to acknowledge, science can be a deep source of spirituality. Not in the esoteric sense, in the sense of deep emotional stirring. It can move us to explore and wonder in ways that religion cannot. It can be a great source of humility and stir immense appreciation in us that influences us to be kinder and less abrasive. And it will motivate more to combat misinformation and to even create their own STEM content of their own. Science teaches reverence for the universe as it is, not as we wish it to be based on our pre-existing beliefs. So science can fill that spiritual void in us that often comes about when people stray away from their fundamental religious ideologies and they feel left out in the open. Science is for everyone, every person, on the planet can and should be literate in science. And I believe that many of our modern problems could be solved if we were just to increase the standards for science literacy around the world. And it starts with us. Individual people can help. And just as misinformation can propagate explosively, so can correct information. We just need more people fighting misinformation, backing a message of unity. And I know of no stronger unifying force than a scientific perspective. The future could be one of incredible progress. This is not supposed to be completely pessimistic. There is a path out of this. We can turn this around. Think of how capable we are right now. Think of the immense technological power that we are sequestering right now with AI, quantum computers, fusion. Humanity can harness this science and technology to build a way better world than we live in now. Think of a future when the economy is entirely automated via robots and AI, where robots and AI perform all tasks and jobs, and humanity simply reaps the rewards and benefits from that automated labor. Think of any economic hardship eradicated. Think of all diseases eradicated. A sustainable life for all. A sustainable environment for all. That's within our grasp. It's all possible. It's way more possible than ever before. But if society continues down this anti-science path where the public doesn't understand it, where science literacy is deemed elitist, and the public is excessively suspicious and paranoid about experts or science itself, technology might outpace our ability to use it wisely. Where misinformation then takes over and shapes policy, that's only going to hurt us in the long term. Where the foundation of progress, namely science, is misused by the very people who claim that they're trying to serve you and make things better with science. In the name of common sense, right, or simpler times, when the complexities of the modern world were not present back then, right? A lot of the sentiment on the right is that people want to go back to simpler times, make America great again, because before it was greater than now. Right? That implies something. It implies something profound. That people want to go back to simpler times. They're scared of all the complexity of the modern world. They're scared of all the complications and nuances of modern life. They want to go back to simpler times. That shows us that people are scared of new things and new ideas. That they're not taking science seriously. They're taking it for granted. They're just accepting all the products and the luxuries that come about through science, but they're not going back and listening to the scientific method. And now we're electing leaders who they themselves aren't literate in science, and they themselves are scared of new technology, and in the name of common sense, try to deregulate, try to cancel or censor anything that disagrees with their goals. They're outdated goals, right? We see leaders banning words from science papers like climate change, diversity. Don't talk about these things. We want to go back to simpler times. We're going to see more pandemics if this continues, right? More distrust in experts. Because of our own misunderstandings of viruses, of how pandemics spread, of how to solve them. We don't understand the problem. We don't even understand the solution. So what do? We say, experts are lying. Let me just do what I want to do. And this causes a feedback loop of anger, distrust, fear, individualism. The consequences could be dire. Social unrest, economic instability. If we keep electing the rich guy, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to make things worse in terms of economic disparity between the rich and the poor. They're going to see environmental collapse. If we keep electing the people who don't believe in climate change, who don't understand the issues, what do you think is going to happen? More problems for the environment. We're reaching a point where the political system is incapable of governing crises because it just refuses to acknowledge them. We are at that stage now. We've reached the point of an anti-science society. And artificial intelligence isn't going to save us. In fact, artificial intelligence is only being used to further propagate misinformation and confusion. The advent of new technology does not guarantee progress or increased quality of life. Political polarization is also likely to deepen or be amplified as these anti-science attitudes, take over these next few decades. A world dominated by superstition and short-term thinking. A world where high technology is only in the hands of very tech-savvy elites and wealthy people. And the rest of us are just going along for the ride, having no say in this, not even understanding what's happening around us. And in this dystopian world, social progress severely lags behind technological progress. We're seeing the first manifestations of this. We're seeing for the first time many parts of our communities feeling extremely ostracized because they're not accepted, merely because of who they are, their gender or their race or etc. And it all stems from this misunderstanding, this science illiteracy. We're seeing people grow agitated to have any meaningful discussions anymore. I mean, when's the last time you actually heard a meaningful discussion between political sides? So, this continues. Human existence as we know it will end. Not in the sense of a physical extinction, but a social extinction. Where meaningful interactions fade away, we're left stagnant. And all the attributes that make us human and make us capable of great things, all that dies with a whimper.